The news this week was once again filled with footage of marches across the country. But this time, they weren't organised by petulant children demanding gun control. No, instead, it was the pesky people who teach them.
In Oklahoma and Kentucky, thousands of teachers taking to the streets, marching on their state capitals. Teachers in this deep red state with some of the worst pay in the country are riding a growing wave of anger over cuts to public education.
Enjoy it while it lasts, teachers. Surfing that wave of anger is the closest thing to a beach vacation you'll ever be able to afford. For these teachers, the demands are about much more than higher salaries. In fact, the governor of Oklahoma approved a raise for teachers and they still walked out.
Last week, she signed a measure that gave teachers a $6,000 pay raise, but only added an additional $50 million to school funding. Teachers were asking for $200 million more.
Teachers want more, but it's kind of like having a teenage kid that wants a better car.
Well, it's more like a teenager who wants any car, because the car they're driving right now is a horse on a skateboard. But I understand the governor's frustration. I want kids to have a good education, but it's hard to feel bad for teachers because, frankly, a lot of them are c***s. They were always making me learn things that I'd never use as an adult, like geometry or condoms. Sure, some teachers are wonderful people who inspire children to learn, but others are just sociopaths who f*** with your self-esteem. I had this one teacher, Mr. Gamblin, who said I'd never amount to anything and that I should stop talking in class because I wasn't funny. Well, I'm going to call him right now. I memorised his number. Hello? Is Mr. Gamblin there? Oh, he's not? Well, I'd like to leave him a message. Write this down. No, I'm talking right now. You write this down. Tell him that Jim Jefferies called, the guy who he said was never funny. Well, guess what? Guess who has his own fucking... Oh, I see. Oh, what kind of cancer? Oh, that is a bad one. That takes over the body very quickly. Well, I'm sorry for your loss. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye. That was Mrs. Gamblin. Look, we had a whole lot of other jokes about Mr. Gamblin, but in the prompter, but you keep scrolling. No, you can't say that. That's even more hurtful. That's not funny anymore. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, we're back in. And your wife isn't ugly. No, we're not quite there. You're quite a bit more. Here we are. Yes, kids should have textbooks. I do agree with that. On average, teacher salaries have been decreasing since 1997, and that has a real impact on students. According to one study, a 10% increase in teachers' pay could produce a 5 to 10% increase in student performance, which makes sense. A teacher whose life is in shambles doesn't give a f*** about algebra. Okay, if one train leaves the station at 30 miles an hour and another train leaves the station at 50 miles an hour, does it really matter who gets there first if I'm 42 and living in the back of a Toyota Yaris? Anyway, the correct answer is vodka. It's always vodka. And salaries aside, state funding for education has fallen more than 5% nationally. In Oklahoma, it's down 15%. In Arizona, more than 36%. And some schools are simply falling apart.
Things like moldy school walls, cracked floors, as well as tattered textbooks and battered chairs.
Many of our students have textbooks that are older than them. 9/11 is not in some of our textbooks.
Can you imagine not learning about 9/11? That's bad for everyone, except for Oklahoma's one Muslim student, Hakeem bin Laden. That kid's doing great. The issues go beyond states where strikes are happening. America is already looking at a teacher shortage.
We have teacher shortages in various areas. Included in those would be special education, math, and science. There's a statistic that half the teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years.
Of course teachers are leaving. People need to be paid well to spend time with children who aren't theirs, because kids who aren't yours fucking awful. Nobody sits down on a flight next to a 3-year-old and goes, oh, good, I'm next to a 3-year-old. And if you do say that, you have bigger problems. But the tide might be turning.
What is your message to lawmakers?
There's nowhere to run and hide. This is bigger than party politics. For instance, maybe they would say, well, you're a Democrat. You're not going to vote for me anyway. I'm a Republican.
What?
And remember, this is the same legislature who's found money to give themselves several raises over the last few years. But they're trying to tell us they can't put a textbook in every kid's hand. We're not buying it, ma'am. We're not buying it.
Well said, sir, and good for you. You're only trying to do what's right for your students, and the government is calling you the bad guys. That's not right. And educated people would understand this. But nobody's educated anymore, partly because the schools are so bad. Then those uneducated people grow up and vote to take money away from schools, and we keep getting dumber and dumber and dumber. Soon the Oklahoma school production of Oklahoma is going to sound like this. You're doing great, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, O-K-L-A-H. I want to say W, P, a backwards 7, Oklahoma,